What's up, everyone? Good morning to you. It is Wednesday, y'all. It is Wednesday, November the 2nd, 2022. And do we have a show for you as I'm coughing? Y'all, do we have a show for you? A great show. But real quick, if you are in Central Ohio and you have to leave out, I'm gonna need you to be very careful. That fog out there is thick. There is dense fog out there, and we just want you to be careful. You may be in other parts of the country, and whatever your weather is currently, be safe, be careful. We're getting in that season where we don't know what we might get, but right here in Central Ohio, that fog is thick. There have been warnings issued, so please, please, please be careful. Leave in enough time to get wherever you need to go. If you are tuning in by audio or podcast and you are in Central Ohio, I'm gonna need you to pay attention to the road if you're driving. Can y'all do that for me? I see you, Deborah Johnson. I see you, Shirley Nicholson. I see you, Dr. Annette. I see you, Deborah. Good morning, Judy Neal. Good morning, Kenny Stanley, Rosanna, Jeffrey Allen James. I know there's others of you. I wasn't catching all of you as you were coming in. I see you, Susan Church. Good morning to you. Good morning, Marion Jackson, to you. I see you, Tracy Newmy. I see you. Y'all, we have Derrick Holmes, pastor, doctor, reverend, brother, activist Derrick Holmes in the green room. We'll be hearing from him real soon. So I just really want to say good morning to start everything off. Marion Jackson says she voted yesterday. That's what I'm talking about. What's up, Dr. Antoinette? What's happening to you? Yes, NewsInMotion viewers, keep letting us know that you voted. We are expecting 100% of all of you who are viewing or listening to NewsInMotion to vote. So if you have not already shared in the chat that you have voted, please do so. If you are tuning in by audio or podcast, you know you can go to our email, which is newsinmotionwithgail@gmail.com, and let us know, hey, I voted or I plan to vote. And that could be by in-person early or absentee ballot or mail-in ballot or whatever it is that you do. We just want to see 100% of the voters vote. I see you, Pastor Alex. Good morning to you. All right, y'all, we have a little bit of news, and then I'm going to really dive into this conversation with Pastor Derrick Holmes about voting. He is not only a pastor, but he's also an activist. I used to do some consulting alongside of an organization that he works for currently, and I know the work that he is doing. We're going to go deep. We're going to go very deep today. We're just moving into Tuesday, the vote on Tuesday. I see you, Jacqueline, coming in here. Dr. Antoinette says early voting works. It works. Let me tell you, it works. And I think it has some people a little nervous because it's us that go out there and do the voting. All right, y'all. I want to just jump in here and share just a few things. Good morning, Tracy Burrs. Before we get to Pastor Holmes, before we get to him, this was hitting me yesterday because they were coming in one after another after another. I see you, Shardini. I see you, Liz Pryor the third, and I was like, "What is going on?" Well, we have news of 28-year-old Takeoff of the group Migos, who was shot and killed on so he's gone. He has left us. He's dead. And they call him really quiet in nature but powerful in words. We also have Julie Powell of Julie and Julia, who died at the age of 49. Her husband confirmed that death, and they said that was from cardiac arrest. I want y'all to let that sink in. At the age of 49, cardiac arrest. We also have former Minnesota and co-defensive coordinator Adam Zimmer, an NFL assistant for 17 years and the son of previous Viking head coach Mike Zimmer. He has died at the age of 38. So far we have 28, age 49, and age 38. We also have singer DeVito, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. 3-year-old son dies, and they believe that's from an apparent drowning in their backyard pool. And then we also have Cormac Roth, dead, musician and son of Tim Roth, who died at the age of 25. So just I want you to hear this: age 28, age 49, age 38, age 3, age 25. And I also have a personal family friend we learned yesterday that died also. And I believe she was in her early 50s. And I'm sure there's many of you that can also name people who have passed away. Why am I sharing that this morning to start this news off? Well, yesterday was interesting. Yesterday, as I was sharing what's on the ballot, and I didn't see this until later, but there was I called him Ye, Kanye, I called him Ye. And then there was a comment that said his name is Ye. Okay, that's cool, no problem. Well, that started a firestorm and a division over a name and a pronunciation. Well, a couple things real quick as I dive into this. A couple things. Number one, and Isaiah can attest to this. I research every name. I listen to the audio. I listen to previous interviews. I hear how they pronounce their own name, and I do my best to pronounce the name. Well, a particular interview that I watched with him, Kanye and Piers Morgan. Good morning, Kim Edmondson. Good morning, Regina Short. Um, an interview I watched with him, not the one where he takes off his mic and walks away. It was the one previous to that. He corrects Piers Morgan and says, "My name is Yee, as in my tennis shoe, as in my clothing brand." So I went with that one. But there was such a division yesterday. The emails, the text messages, the phone calls, and I'm sitting back saying, the message that was delivered yesterday, we landed on the pronunciation of a man's name that he himself has said it both ways. There's even a TikTok out about the way, and these are people making fun of him, making light of him, I should say, not fun of him, saying there's many names that he has. And that's not the point. I just gave y'all 5 young people who have passed away. Age 28, that's Takeoff. Age 49, that's Julie Powell. Age 38, that's Adam Zimmer. Singer DeVito's young son, 3 years old. Cormac Roth, 25. We don't have time to discuss things that are distraction. And I want to thank Kim Edmondson for reminding me, go back to your devotional. That's a distraction. We cannot focus on those things. But here's where I struggle. And Dr. Derrick Holmes and I are going to talk about this in a little bit. But the message, did we miss the message because of Ye or Yay? Did we miss that? Because I used his name once yesterday. I went back to listen. I said Ye. I said his name one time. And from a comment, there was a huge division. I was like, what just happened here? Is that some of our struggle, that we get so distracted on something so small that we're missing the bigger picture? And I'm afraid that's how some of us vote. So with that being said, I want y'all to hear this. Elon Musk dissolves Twitter board of directors. There's a problem with that, y'all. Celebrities are leaving Twitter, starting with Chandra Rhimes and the list is growing. I think it's up to maybe 70 something people of names that we have out here. Good morning, Davey. I see you. Miss Rhimes said in a tweet, and I quote, "Not hanging around for whatever Elon has planned. Bye." He's now wanting to implement a charge of $8 per blue check, and people are saying they're not going to pay that. And they're even saying to him, "We're the ones bringing you business." There's also a story that is unfolding that his largest partner is from Saudi Arabia. His largest partner. And so we need to pay attention to that. We need to ask the message, what's going on? What's going on? I see you, Adrian, coming in here. Dr. Annette said, "Yep, I'm with Kim. That message is key. I'm happy that you give us your best." You are welcome. You are welcome. So y'all, then on Tuesday, I'm bringing in Dr. Holmes in a moment. On Tuesday, y'all, the Supreme Court cleared the way for Senator Lindsey Graham's testimony in the Georgia investigation of possible illegal interference in the 2020 election by the former guy and his allies in the state of Georgia. Next, the court lifted the temporary hold immediately. They lifted it. They lifted it immediately. And then he will have an appearance before a special grand jury now scheduled for November the 17th, after the midterm election. I want y'all to pay attention to this. On yesterday, Chief Justice John Roberts extended an order blocking the Treasury Department from giving Donald Trump's tax returns to the House Ways and Means Committee. Now, I just have one question for you all, and this is just how I think when I'm reading different things. I thought, isn't it interesting that both of these things happened on Tuesday? Isn't it interesting? And here's my question: was this a negotiation? Did Senator Graham had to be thrown underneath the bus? Did the justice say, well, you only gonna get one of these? Either we're gonna keep Lindsey from having to testify, or we're gonna keep your tax returns. I don't know. I'm just asking a question. No conspiracy theory. I'm just asking a question, because this to me is not a coincidence that this happened the way that it happened. I see you, Stephanie Burbridge Hall. Y'all, these are going back to critical thinking. This is, if you were in Patreon, you got that entire one page there. This is back to critical thinking. We have to think critically, like what's really going on here? But I just thought I would lay that out there. One more thing before I bring in Dr. Holmes. This is for immediate release. This was today, early this morning. This is the fact sheet, and I'm going to go into the press room to get more information later today at the White House. Virtually. I do it virtually. You know, I'm not there, so I do it virtually. This is a fact sheet that President Biden is talking about the equitable workforce development for the infrastructure jobs. Now, if you are a Patreon member, you're going to get all this information inside Patreon. You're going to get all of it. I'm going to read a couple of things here because I think it's important. It's going back to what I said on yesterday. Thank you, Isaiah. That's patreon.com/Gail Dudley. If you want to become a member, you can become a member for as small as $3. But when you get this type of information, you got to be in another tier. So just want to put that out there. But listen to this. And I've been talking about this. And yesterday I shared with y'all, I brought in the Black side. And it was very interesting. Kim Edmondson nailed it. She said, this is a pivotal moment for NewsInMotion. And I felt that yesterday. And along with that pivotal moment, going back to something I said a few moments ago, it's sad that we got hung up on ye and yay. It's sad where most people landed on my pronunciation of calling him ye. And it's interesting. Again, even millennials are split on his name because interviews he has used both names. So, but we got caught up in that piece right there. But I want y'all to grab this. Y'all, there are jobs that are coming down from this infrastructure over the next 90 days that I want you to be at the table. There have been commitments made through a challenge that the Biden administration has put out there. The workforce development will expand equitable pathways into good jobs, boost opportunity for union jobs, meet critical employer skill needs, as well as small businesses and entrepreneurs. Y'all got to hear this. Y'all, nearly 150 employers, unions, and community-based organizations will create or expand apprenticeships, registered or highly trained programs. More than 60 organizations will increase recruitment among workers who are traditionally underrepresented in infrastructure sections. Y'all, that means they're for us. They're for us. Nearly 30 organizations will provide supportive services such as childcare and transportation assistance to help workers overcome barriers to participating in training opportunities. More than 50 institutions of higher education. And by the way, let me go back. Those numbers, you may say, oh, only 60 organizations. No, 60 organizations will be disseminating this information to recruit people that look like us to come to the table. Okay. So listen, I want y'all to listen to this. Davia, I see you on here. I don't know if you're still on here, if you ran off, but listen to this, Davia. And others. I don't want to leave it at Davia and others. Y'all, they're looking for people to promote their work. So y'all, sponsorships, podcasts, broadcasts, training, facilitation, all of this, products, they're going to need the t-shirts to do the program. So who's in the t-shirt business? Who's in the designing business to do this? Y'all, we need to be at the table for this. All these pages, there's 8 pages to this, okay? And I'm not going to get to it. So if you're a Patreon member, you will get this information in Patreon. Davia says, I'm listening. Hello, somebody. Y'all, Communications Workers of America, that's the CWA, will demonstrate fiber splicing, an essential task, and join fiber cables. So in that alone, they're going to need engineers. They're going to need technology. They're going to need people giving pitches, giving quotes to be a part of this, y'all. This is huge. International Union of Bricklaying. Are you in construction? Are you in bricklaying? What's up, Amber? What's up, y'all? Amber, pause for station identification. You looking for graphic artists, a designer, web development, branding, messaging, content, book formation. Y'all contact Amber. She is our designer with Ready Publication. She has designed, I believe, about 20 of our issues. She's thebomb.com. Good morning to you. Amber, this is for you too. Y'all, United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America. Y'all, this is coming from the White House. Where's my page? Coming from the White House. I'm telling y'all, money is coming in from the infrastructure jobs, and we need to be a part of it. What did I tell you yesterday? It's time for us to get to the table. So y'all, there's all types. There's IBEW, AT&T, United Airlines. They're looking for us to come be a part of their programs. Laborers International, Lumen Technologies will invest more than $80 million annually to hire nearly 1,000 new employees, entrepreneurs. But you have to. They're asking us to be MBEs, and we need somebody to come teach us that. That is the most difficult application to complete. Oh my word, that is difficult. Charters, Flora Corporation. There's a lot, y'all. There's a lot. Even the Department of Labor is looking for people. The Department of Transportation, the Department of Commerce. The Department of Commerce has $42.5 billion. That's with a B. Department of Energy. ChargePoint, Fiber Broadband, Bunker Hill Community College, Northwood Technical College, Arizona Western College, Louisiana Community. Y'all, there's tons. So we will get all this into Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon member, you may want to join today to get this, especially if you want to go after some of this money, or you know someone who does. If y'all remember, I believe it was last week, if not the week before, I talked about the schools and the amount of money schools are getting. Hey, listen here. Latrice Jones in Central Ohio, she here to help. And I believe she put in the chat that day that she's here to help. You just have to become a vendor. Do not be afraid of completing the long applications to become vendors. Y'all, we know you can look at it and it's overwhelming. Thank you, Amber. If you are in Central Ohio, Chandretta Boykins, she can help with the MBE certification. When we see all of this, we're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot to put together. It's a lot to do. And you can become overwhelmed. But once you get the template going, you can reuse that template over and over and over again. You may have to make some adjustments depending upon who you're dealing with. Y'all, that's Wednesday from the White House. Now we have Dr. Derrick Holmes. I've elevated him to doctor, so I don't know if he's going to get a doctorate or what. I know nothing about it, but something about he just going to become doctor. Dr. Derrick Holmes is senior pastor of Second Baptist Church in Circleville, Ohio. He regularly attempts to think through intersections of religion, race, and culture. He is an author of After the Benediction, Practical Insight for Christian Living, a devotional combining biblical scripture and African proverb. He did an outstanding job on his article for Ready publication that released a few weeks ago. He's a native of New York, where he says in his thing, he's a native New Yorker. Let me get that right. Pastor Holmes, we don't want to have a back and forth. No, I'm not native. I'm this. We got that cleared up. I'm a native New Yorker. Pastor Holmes, let me say that again. As a native New Yorker, Pastor Holmes presently resides in Columbus, Ohio, and you can read more about him on his blog at ReverendDerrickHolmes.com. Again, that's ReverendDerrickHolmes.com, and that's REV DerrickHolmes.com. You can also follow him on Twitter, which I don't know how long he's going to be there, but I'm going to leave that off until he comes in. Come on in here, Derrick. Come on in here. Come on in here. Come on in here. You're like, yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to be there.
Look, you are telling the truth. Look, let me act like I have some media training first. What a pleasure it is to be able to share with you all. Peace and good morning, everybody. Gail, I love you to life. And I don't know if you can see, I was in the green room. I was in the green room legit, like, yes, that, right, do that. Yep, I know that's right, girl.
Because I can see you, I have several different screens. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 5 screens up. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I either see Isaiah dancing, I saw you pointing. When Kenny's in here, he's doing something else. When Lexi's in here, I'm like, oh my, where am I looking? Where am I going? And I have to get off of you all because I can see you all. And I'm like, he's cutting up, but that's good. Mm-hmm. So wait a minute, we got to get in here. Is it ye or yay?
The short answer, one, thank you for having me. I appreciate being able to share on this amazing platform. I've said it to your face, and I know that everyone here knows it. There are so many other platforms that aren't truthful, and this is a place for honest dialogue, for meaningful information, and I appreciate being able to share space with you this morning. It doesn't matter whether it's ye or yay. I think that we're in a moment where we're so persuaded by the petty. We allow ourselves to be confused and convinced by convenience that we have these smaller arguments instead of larger conversations. So I don't necessarily care if it's ye or yay. I know that he deals with the Black community out of convenience. I know that it's real cool to be about us until we get to the billionaire status. And then when he says something to trouble the apparatus and then has to talk to us again, then it matters and those conversations happen. I know he sits down, whether it's ye or yay, I know he sits down with Piers Morgan, but doesn't sit down with Tamron Hall. And I think that we can do more than one thing at one time, and we can still love, but we can also hold people accountable too. I don't care whether it's ye or yay. I care about the way in which our people are treated. And thank you for the question. And even deeper, I think you're right. It does inform the way that we vote, but even deeper, it informs the way that we live.
Wow.
I think the way in which that we live, the way in which we're socialized, the culture that we live in, is so much so to where it's easier to grab this low-hanging fruit that doesn't mean anything, as opposed to having these deeper and larger conversations that speak directly to the moment we're in and where we should be going. So it doesn't matter whether it's ye or yay. I know that he has shoes that people in my community can't go buy.
There's that. Hello, somebody. or they use their rent, their gas, their car payment, their electric money, whatever, and go buy it to be in the know. And then they lose their other things.
Yeah, like, listen, and look, I think we should be having larger conversations about the reality of mental health in our community. I think we should be having larger conversations about what it means to attain a certain type of access and what you have to sacrifice in order to get there. Listen, I was a fan of college dropout, late registration, and graduation. His mother died somewhere between the second and the third album. And somewhere along the line, we got so entranced with being a consumer, right? We just wanted him to keep producing that we lost track of the person. And then many of us judge the person that he's become, where maybe we didn't do the best in loving him through kind of where he was at right then. So Yeah, I could say more about that, but whether ye or yay, I think there are more conversations that we should be having in our community, because regardless of whatever he does, he's still ours.
Right, that's true. That's true. And what's so sad, if I can say that. And I saw the comment later, like after the show. I didn't even see it during the show. And okay, there was the comment, but the way people bounced on that, I'm thinking, what? Like, really? Like we really got this distracted? Like, why? Which, so let me just lead into this. We're down to 7 days. Actually, no, 6 days. Sorry, 6 days. I'm like, no, 6 days. This is Wednesday. We're down to 6 days. And yesterday I talked about the Black vote.
Yeah.
And I just came out and said we did that for the Biden administration. Clear. I had graphs, charts, everything else from the Brennan Center showing that we did that. But here we are, still without voting rights. Still with all types of things before us. We see what's happening. We see that you have people saying in the House, let's go with Marjorie Taylor Greene, as soon as we take over, we are going to impeach Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, the Secretary of State, the AG. And I don't think we realize as a people where we are. So although we may be frustrated, we can't quit yet. We have to get over November the 8th. Yeah. And then I was telling everyone yesterday, then we need to demand a seat at the table in a professional way, in a bold way, nonviolent way. But, we need a seat at this table. And like what I shared, with all of this money and all of these opportunities out here, we need to become a part of that conversation. So with that said, all around the U.S., as you're thinking, what do we need to do not to become so fatigued that we get out to vote if we have not already done so?
Yeah, I think that's the right question. And I think that in the moment that we're in, I think we have to be clear about the landscape, right? I think there's some things that we just need to own as absolutes. It's midterms. And like you were talking about in terms of the Black vote, it's a truth that most social scientists consider the Black vote to be a captured electorate, meaning that all you have to do is pander to our community for about a month, and then we'll go ahead and show up in major elections, not show up in midterm elections. I think that we don't have the time to think about this as a community in the way that we previously have. 435 seats in the House are up. 35 of the 100 seats in the Senate are up for grabs. That's the landscape that we're in when President Biden was elected in by our community. And let me say it the way I need to, not only by our community, but also by Black women. We should be very clear about that in ways that we don't talk about. Not only our community, but Black women showed up. 90% of registered Black women voters voted in the last major election to put what we have in place. It's not just putting it there, but it's also protecting it. So we don't have the luxury of not showing up and navigating it. But I think it's how we have to change our thinking around it. I really do. Because, and stay with me on this, the object of oppression is to make you feel powerless. So oppression it's not personal. It's just to make you feel powerless. So because of the oppressive apparatus that we operate under, it makes many of us think that our vote doesn't matter. That's a lie. That's a lie. I hope someone puts that in the chat. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Put it up in the chat, y'all. That's a lie.
That is a lie. The truth is that when we vote, we win. When we vote, we actually get what we want. And when we don't vote, we don't. That's the truth. And so, and I think with that truth in tow, there are some other things that we need to own. We need to be clear that there's no such thing as an unimportant election.
Right.
Listen,
right.
I'm not here to judge what side of the aisle you come down on, but the truth is there's no such thing as an unimportant election. The truth is that until the systems that have us at the bottom, the systems that don't have interest in our community, the systems that want to take advantage of our resources, our buying power, our influence, until those systems are dismantled and then reimagined and then restructured, every election is the most important election in the Black community. That's the way that we need to be thinking. every election, general, midterm, federal, state, local, Supreme Court judges, whether it's the governor, whether it's municipal judges, every issue, every single thing is important to there's no such thing as an unimportant election. Every single election is the most important one in our lifetime. We have to be thinking that way. We do.
Absolutely. I want to go back and grab something because I don't think people are believing us. All 435 seats are up for election for Tuesday.
Right.
People, when I say they're like, oh, Gil, I think you're wrong. No, this is one, when it comes like what every, was it 3 decades it comes up?
Yeah.
Every 3 decades it comes up. All seats are up.
And
I think we're just like saying, oh, we got it. No, we don't have it. Nothing's promised. And I don't think, I'm going to say this carefully, but I need to say it. I think we just are focused on right now and not looking at a bigger picture. Not looking at, let's go back to the filibuster, not understanding what the filibuster is, what it does, how it means, and how they use it or not use it. I don't think we're considering what's on the docket. Like, come on, they're telling you they're going to impeach President Biden. They're telling you they're going to impeach Vice President Kamala Harris. They're telling you what they're going to do. And I don't know, we don't let it sink in or whatnot. And I'll go back to the whole Lindsey Graham piece in Georgia. I'm sorry. I really do think that they took a trade. Lindsey, you under the bus. We're going to protect Trump today. Now, this is my thing. This is, I'm like, this is not a coincidence. I'm looking at Ukraine. I'm looking at what Russia's doing. I'm looking at what Elon Musk is doing. Let's be honest here. There's something that's a part of all of this mess. I'm looking at so much that I can't just say, oh, just as long as I can have this, I'm good. No, I got to think about legacy. I got to think about family. I got to think about people. I got to think about the young people. There's a lot on the line, a lot. Let's go back to student loan debt. Okay, so a judge, the 9th District Circuit judge halted it. One of George W. Bush appointees. We haven't heard anything else about it. All we know is that the Biden administration had to respond by 6 p.m. last Monday, not this past month, 2 Mondays ago.
Right.
It's silent. Why is this silent? Why aren't we talking about it? So can you speak to what we need to do as constituents and as registered voters, considering everything, the big picture that's on the table?
Well, I think there are 3 things that we could be doing. I'm Baptist that way. So there are 3 things that we should maybe have on our minds to help us mobilize our power. First, we have to understand that our power begins past partisanship. The truth of the matter is that it's not about Republican and Democrat partisan politics. I'm not saying that we should ignore what other people are doing in their respective party. We should absolutely be paying attention, because a lot of time language that benefits us is co-opted to forward agendas that don't benefit our community. So we have to be aware of that. But the truth is that partisan politics does not help the Black community. We should be honest about that we should be voting for our interest. And we should be voting for our interest and not the interest of a party. And if a party doesn't have our interest, then we shouldn't be interested. So we have to reorient the way that we think through this, and not just vote, but also think strategically and start thinking about what it means to show up powerfully. And to Gail's point, that's how we end up at the table. That's how other demographics end up at the table. That's how Jewish brothers and sisters end up at the table. That's how Muslim brothers and sisters end up at the table. This is how Latinx brothers and sisters end up at the table. It's not because they have more people than us, or they're smarter than us, or they can adjudicate between different issues better than us. They just have understood that the reality is that I don't care about a party. I care about what's in the best interest of my community. And so we have to think about our power past partisanship. If a party does not have our interest, then we don't need to be interested. So we need to be thinking about it like that. We also have an opportunity to think about how politics is not on the ballot. Democracy is. Politics isn't on the ballot. In the state that I'm in Ohio, for the first time in Ohio state history, when people go to vote, it's going to have Democrat or Republican listed next to the candidate. And the reason why that's there is because there are people in place that are trying to organize their base. This is a power move. And so they're literally saying to people, if you're a Republican, these are the Republicans you need to vote for. And if you're a Democrat, then these are the Democrats you need to be voting for. Politics is not on the ballot. Democracy is across the country. There are conversations about whether or not a woman can do what she desires with her own body across the country. We're having conversations about whether or not people can exercise their constitutional right to vote across the country, regardless of what many elected officials say. Voter suppression, voter oppression are real things. And so the way in which we should be thinking about this moment is not just what button do I push, but are the choices I'm making in my respective place, are they expanding the possibilities of democracy, or are they foreclosing upon them? That's the fundamental thing that we should have on our minds. Whether what I'm voting for, whether it's an issue, whether it's a levy, whether it's a bond issue, whatever it is that expanding the possibilities of the demos, expanding democracy, or is it foreclosing upon it? And that's the way that we should be thinking. Does what I choose give me the right to continue to self-determine? Or does it have someone else determine for me? Does what I choose help me live past inherent bias and not have it hinder the opportunities that should be afforded me as an American? So we have to understand our powers past our partisanship, and politics is not on the ballot. Listen, these arguments, we should be listening to them, but unless they're talking directly to our community, we shouldn't even care. We should be thinking about what our interest is. Malcolm X said it like this. He was talking about the ballot or the bullet. He said we should treat the ballot like a gun and a bullet, and we should keep it in our pocket until we have our target set, and then we should shoot our bullet in the direction that it needs to go in. Now, I'm not saying go out and shoot anybody, and I'm definitely not saying that on NewsInMotion. But what I am saying, and what he was trying to say, is that we should be intentional around our vote, and we should understand this isn't about politics. It's not. Listen, as long as there are people who think something should go one way, there's always going to be people who think it should go another way. That's the reality of politics. We don't have time for that.
Not at all.
We don't.
It's so funny. But first of all, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, they can take us down." He's talking about.
I got you.
But I knew where you were headed. I'm like, hopefully they know their history and they'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Davia said, "Brilliant perspective, Reverend Holmes." And I want to get back to Latrice Jones in a moment. But before I go to Latrice Jones' comment, I got to say this. I'll never forget we were working with organizing collaborative Amos project, and it's January 6th, and we supposed to have a meeting, and we're like, what is going on? We were like, is this a movie? Like, what is on our television right now? So when you say this is not about politics, this is democracy. These are individuals that are trying to take power and control because they feel as if they're losing it.
Yeah. Consider what we become.
Right.
Consider what we become if we allow what happens on January 6th to become the norm, where we can just disacknowledge due process, disacknowledge the vote, and then those people can then just have what they want because they say they want it. Now, I'm not going to say that the way I want because I love NewsInMotion and I don't want to get you in trouble, but I need you to know that what we saw and what the whole world saw, that there was a specific demographic of people who felt a very specific type of way and acted a specific way. None of those people have been incarcerated and been sentenced yet, by the way, right? So what's on the ballot is democracy, and we should be thinking about that. And we are the demos. We get to choose, and that's the power that we have.
Yes, it's so interesting. I still see Latrice coming. I'm going to come back. I'm holding that on purpose. Mm-hmm. I want to go back to. I get a lot of pushback when I say do your research and determine which way you're going to vote. Now because you and I've had these conversations. I there are seasons like this one and the one in 2020 where I did do down ballot. We needed to, but in many cases we didn't have all this craziness going on. I really do believe in doing the research, seeing how they voted because their votes are public, and then determining, do these align with my morals? Are they going to be the best for me as a constituent for our community. But I get pushback on that all the time. They're like, Gail, you need to just talk down ballot. Well, there are times, yes, but I'm not a believer of that 100%, except when need to be, like this year and then in 2020. So with that, let me go ahead, jump in.
Just real quick, and I want to affirm you in that you're right. There's an African proverb says that you never ever ask a fish how to climb a tree. Listen, sometimes people just aren't going to understand it, and it's not a judgment, but that's the reality of where we are. Reality is that we're in a swing state. The reality is that there are moments where you absolutely should be thinking about what it means to vote down ballot, right? Right. There are absolutely moments where you should be paying attention to people's record. And the truth is, we're living in an anti-intellectual age. So when you say things like research, a lot of people just don't want to do all that reading. It's not a judgment, it's just the truth. Right. And
that's why we try to deliver it here on NewsInMotion. But I still tell them, I still need you to go do it. Don't just take my word for it. But I try to give them enough to say, please, let me tease you with this so you can go and get it. But go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, and I really believe this. I think that we're in a moment where, and this is where I stay optimistic, and this is where I get even excited, because I think we're in a moment where we're really figuring out what it means to live powerfully.
Yeah.
I really believe that. This is the work around what it means to live powerfully. This is what people who are powerful do. Because be clear, power does not answer to weakness.
That's it. Power does not answer to weakness.
Only responds to power. So I think we're in a moment where we're just figuring that out. I really do.
I love that. I have one more question for you that I want you to answer. Then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to let you have it with the inspirational message. Y'all love his inspirational message. So we're going to roll it like this. So first a question, and then I'm going to come back after you answer this. What would you say to all of us who have people in our families who have decided either they're not going to vote or they're not making it a priority, and we're down to the wire? How would you speak to them today?
I would own that the landscape is bleak. That I want to just own that it's frustrating. It's frustrating to feel like that you voted for change or done work behind it and nothing changes. All of us have moments where we feel like we've invested in hope and not had return on that investment. I think we do good to own that as a truth. We shouldn't lose our personhood kind of in the political process. But at the same time, doing nothing doesn't bring about the change either. Okay. The truth is that being stagnant, being still, letting things just happen to us and figuring out how to survive doesn't make things better. I would argue that that's not even living. Okay. I come out of a tradition that not only affirms life more abundantly, but also life, right? That there's a God that's concerned about the day-to-day conditions that I exist out of. And so what I would encourage people to do, and what I do encourage people to do, is not only to lay in that frustration, but to make up in our minds that we can get up, that it can be better, that it can change, but we have to do the work behind it. And it's a troubling truth that we might not see it right away. Those who came before us didn't get to see the things that we live in right now.
Yeah.
But they were so fascinated by hope. Yeah. They were so fascinated by the possibility of what could yet be, that they were willing to risk and sacrifice and press and vote. So I don't know if anybody who's serious about change in our communities, in the community that I'm most concerned about, I don't know if I take anybody serious who doesn't vote.
Okay.
It's just the reality of where we live.
And here's my thing. When they start complaining, I'm like, excuse me, did you vote? And if they say no, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So before I have you go into the inspirational message, and y'all don't leave, I know it's going to be powerful. Latrice Jones asked a question. Well, she goes, Derrick Holmes, I need to sow a seed. Please drop your Cash App or Venmo, sir. So can you tell us what that is? And Isaiah will put it up on the screen if you don't mind.
My Cash App is $DKH Ministries. $DKH Ministries. Oh, praise God. God.
Is it M-I-N? Is the N-I-E-S?
M-I-N-I-S-T-R-I-E-S.
I-E-S, okay.
Yeah.
So DK, the $sign DK Ministries.
DKH Ministries.
DKH Ministries.
Mm-hmm.
You got that, Isaiah? Let me just see you check your head in the green room.
Yeah.
He's saying he's doing it now. Okay, so we have that. So thank you, Latrice, for putting it up there because we do want to sow into his life.
God bless
Also,
you.
once he's done with the inspirational message, he'll come back into the chat on Facebook. So if you're listening by audio or podcast, if you're looking for an author, an activist, a preacher, a speaker, a panelist, please reach out to him directly. And all his information is going to be in the chat. We want to make sure all of you receive that. So again, it's the $DKH Ministries for Cash App. The $DKH Ministries. And I think Misha just put it in there. And I'm sure Isaiah is going to pick it up also. There it is. There it is. All right. So again, I want to say thank you because I'm not coming back as you go into your inspirational message. I'll just be in the green room. But I want to say thank you for coming and sharing your truth with us. And I love it. I just knew that rounding up to November the 8th, we had to have Pastor Derrick Holmes back on NewsInMotion. People here love you. And now we're on more platforms. We are on all the podcast platforms. We're on Twitter temporarily.
Yeah.
We're all on Twitter, Tim. Like when we're gonna put a plug, we just came on Twitter a couple weeks ago. This is I think our third week or second week. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We're on audio, so I wanted to introduce you to more people. And for all of you who are checking our numbers out, Isaiah and I found something out very interesting before I turn this over to inspirational message. For some reason, we're only getting the views, the live views. So when you see the live numbers, it's only Facebook. It's not LinkedIn. It's not YouTube. It's none of those. It's not the podcast. And we went into Twitter, and what was it? 24 live views, Isaiah. He's shaking his head. He's in the green room. 24. And so we're like, we don't even have those numbers on the other one. So we found out doing our research on StreamYard that all those numbers don't come up. Only the main numbers in the chat. So all of you who are saying, we want you to put our products on, but we don't see the numbers. Those aren't the real numbers. So just ask us for our press kit and we will get those numbers out to you. So with that, Derrick, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you.
And now I need you to break off this inspirational message. Give us an inspiring word that's going to get us through the rest of today all the way through Tuesday. I love you, brother. Go ahead and tell us what Jesus said, because I want to.
I love you too. I love you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Thank you. For those who've been able to share space with before, I'm a pastor through and through. And if you thought for one moment we weren't going to have just a little bit of Bible study, then you were absolutely out of your mind. A very interesting thing happens in the Bible in the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy, chronicling the children of Israel as they have went from oppression into the promise that God has for them. The truth is that they were dealing with oppression. They did nothing to earn that oppression. It just had that happen. And as they cried out to God, God was faithful to liberate them. Parenthetically, I am so happy that there is a God that hears me when I cry out. They cry out to God and God liberates them. And they go through all of the things connected to what it means for them to be in promise. Even the moments where they doubt that things are going to work out. Even the moments where they question whether or not the work is all worth it. They are in the wilderness where there's nothing, where it just looks bleak and bland, and they are in the middle of struggle. By the grace of God, they make it into the promise. They get to the promised land, and there are people actually there. But the truth is that when God has it for you, it doesn't matter who's there because it's already yours. I pray you get that on your way home. But by the time we get to Deuteronomy, a very interesting thing happens in the first chapter, as now they are building out a theocracy, a way in which the nation should operate that's most pleasing to God. They are Habiru. That's where the word Hebrew comes from. And it's an Egyptian word that means no land, no nation. They are a people without a nation of their own. And now God has ushered them into a land that God has promised. And God is now telling them the way in which that they should operate as a nation pleasing to God, because you have to be careful when you walk in God's promise, because you can lose your life in the wilderness, but you can lose your soul in the promised land. And now by the time we get to Deuteronomy in the first chapter in the 13th verse, watch what God gives them in terms of direction for how they should navigate this new land that God has given them. He says, choose for your tribe wise, understanding, and experienced men, and I will appoint them as your heads. Don't miss that. Choose for your tribes wise, understanding, experienced men, and I will appoint them as your heads. It says that as you have a nation and as you are thinking about the way it looks, you should be intentional about the leadership that you choose. Don't miss it. The appointment belongs to God, but the choice is ours. As we get ready for November, as we get ready to show up at our polls, might we take what the Bible is teaching us there to understand that we have the opportunity to choose wise, understanding, and experienced men and women. And then as we choose, then God will appoint and anoint them. We are in a moment where the vote matters. We are in a moment where we need to show up. We are in a moment where no matter what statistics and everything else might say, that we have an opportunity to make a difference in our communities and in our own lives. So brothers, sisters, and people, might we choose for our tribes wise, understanding, and experienced persons. The appointment is God's, but the choice is ours. I'll see you at the polls. God bless you. Take care. Peace.